Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Uh, Beautiful summer day. Game one of the NBA Finals later on, and I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for the new subscribers. Check out the old videos. I guess I'm on board again with YouTube, and we'll just do these. There's a lot of prison channels out there, and there's personalities out there, and it's been a topic on YouTube. It's getting big views and for all these things. So, excuse me. I used to visit once upon a time. I used to visit people in Attica, and some people outside of the mafia, some people that you just knew from your hometown or whatnot. And there was a guy. I used to go to the racetrack, and there was a track kitchen. People would go before, during, and after the races and hang out. They'd play cards in the back, and there was a bar, and it was a restaurant also. And there was a guy from a prominent horse racing family that were wealthy. They were wealthy. And this particular guy, we'll call him Mike. This guy would always be drunk, and he lived with his mother. That was always in the household. He was maybe 40, and the mother was elderly. And I would give him a ride home at the end of the night from the bar. And he was an alcoholic, a real bad alcoholic. He didn't have a car because he had like 5, 6, 7, 8 DWIs. And right during that period of time, there was a kid that got drunk who I actually knew in the hometown. And in near Buffalo, New York, he was controversy whether he or his girlfriend were driving. But nonetheless, there was a car accident, and like 5 girls got killed in one car. So DWI was on the radar. It was in the national news. It was in the local news, and they had enough of DWI, driving while intoxicated. So he was piling them on. His family had money. They're paying for lawyers, and he was dodging incarceration. But they started making the laws to be felony DWI. You go to a felony, you go to prison. You get a felony in something, you go to prison. So he might have had some other type of charges, because I mean, I only know about the drinking and driving. And I go to the track kitchen. He's not around or anything. So I seen one of his ex-girlfriends. I said, "Hey, how's Mike doing?" And she goes, "Oh, you didn't hear? He's in Attica." Now, this is a mild-mannered little rich white boy that, 40-something. But I said, he's not prison material. Holy cow. And it was very political, but I think he had gotten an accident also, rumorville afterwards, but it was just a messed up time with their family and everything. You didn't like to ask because they were worried every day while he was in prison. But I think there was some kind of somebody got injured or worse in an accident while he was drunk. So you'll go to prison, you go to state prison, Attica prison. So I get in there. I'm going to visit a guy I knew that was doing 40 years in Attica. We'll call him JT. I'm going to visit JT, And I'm in the room, the visiting room, and I see Mike. Wow, they put it for DWI. So Mike and his mother in the visiting room. So I say, JT, I know him. He's from Batavia also. Blah 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 blah. And he said, oh yeah, he's new and everything, and whatever. So we're doing our conversation and everything, and Mike's telling his mother that the booty bandits are trying to extort him and rape him and everything else because they're just vultures. That's that environment, I reckon. So we're leaving when the thing is over. The visiting is over. We go out into the parking lot. And Mike's mother says, Joey, you got to help him out. Does that guy you're visiting, can he help him in there? I'm paying money. I'm paying money. They're making him, Mike's telling me to send money to these places. They're extorting him so he don't get raped, So they're telling him, hey, send some money over here. And then their people could pick up the money, and then they could put the money on his commissary, or they can use the money for maybe the guy that's extorting has a wife and kids at home, and maybe he wants some money for them, and then they could put a little money on his commissary in prison. So I says, geez, that's a touchy situation, ma'am. She's elderly, and I had knew her briefly from being at the track kitchen when she would come in to pick him up once in a while. And so I tell JT, I said, JT, because they got gangs and everything else, and my friend had been in there a long time, and he wasn't going to be intimidated by whatever gangs there are or anything like that, because he was a psycho himself. And he wasn't a pushover. So he says, well, I could maybe try to do something, but I want to get paid. But I'll make sure it's just a one-time payment. And that's it. It's because these guys are going to extort him nonstop, and they're going to rape him nonstop, and they'll turn him into a boy, a prison boy, which they turn you into a bitch. And knowing this guy, Mike, he was a nice guy. He was an alcoholic, but he was friendly and to laugh and joke. And prison was the last place on planet Earth that he would want to be, or a friend would want him to be at, or if his family would want him to be at. So go back to the visit, and they're there. Hi, Mike, and everything, and he's looking like a deer in headlights. Joey, any news? And he knows I'm talking to my buddy who's got pull in there. So we're talking, and he says, Joey, I don't like to get involved in things because I might have to throw fists and all that. But if I'm going to do it, I got an understanding with some of them guys. I know already what's going on. They're on the same pod or unit, so to speak. And he said, but I want $1,000, and make sure he's safe. I think Mike got 5 years, 7 years or something, whatever that DWI law was. It was in its infancy, and they were trying to make examples out of people, especially after those 5 girls got killed in that car by a drunk driver. But, so he said, I'll do it while, but if he does more time in here, he's on his own, because you get more charges in prison, and then they get obviously time added on to your previous sentence. So he said for 1,000. So, you know, they made the arrangements and everything. And there's crazies in there that is like, it's a whole chess game, and who's got the cayunes and violence, and who's crazy that you might do things in prison and have those relationships and conflict. But if you got people on the street that will go over to your enemy's family's house and burn it down or do whatever, then you got another problem. Because it's not only in the prison system, everybody in there's got family on the outside that get extorted or hurt, just to make an example, and everything else that goes along with that world and life. So we go back, and Mike's mother in the local town, however they arranged it, sent JT's wife or whatnot money, and there was a couple more payments, I believe, that were in there, and so that was kind of smoothed over. That was kind of smoothed over. And I lost track of the guy. He wasn't going to do any more crimes in there. But you go in these places, and I've talked to a lot of people that did a lot of time. And you can't, just like I did when I was on the West Side, and you can't show a sign of weakness, like in the street environment where there's gangs and whatever, or just that neighborhood, or in the prison. But you can buy protection. You can buy protection. And as long as your protector ain't gonna really dog you out and really get over on you, and it's just like they said that when Mike got in there, now like they got these pod things and then the shower or whatever, but you can't count on a guard to rescue you. You could be getting raped in the shower. They could have, the guard, you can't say, oh, Sergeant, CO, help me. They don't care. They'll just let you get raped. But I know when he first got in there, and then somebody, or however it happened, to my knowledge, he didn't get raped. I mean, to my knowledge, just from hearing about things after the fact. But you can't count on the guards or whatever, those COs. They're just like, welcome to the big house. These homeboys over here are gonna be like you, like a hyena, like prey, like you're prey for a hyena, or in the African Delta where a tiger's chasing a gazelle, and you're just gonna get brutalized. They don't care. They want to hear the screams while you're getting raped. So. But I think he dodged it. It came close. They 2 or more guys were trying to, but somebody, I don't know if it was an inmate or an officer, somebody. Well, because in that location, Attica and everything, there was people from all over the state, but there was a lot of guards in there that were from the local area, and they knew Mike was a local area home inmate, from 10 miles down the road. So maybe they didn't want some of these New York homies or Syracuse or wherever they're from maybe they rescued him one time, but then he had to find his own protection. But I've been watching a lot of the prison YouTube channels, like Off the Wall. There's a guy in there, a good guy, and he was with the ABs and different things. But the ABs did get along with the Bloods, the leaders, and everything else. Yeah, but you just had a matter of respect and agreements. But folks, don't get caught up in crimes. Even like DWI, nonviolent. Well, if you get in an accident and hurt somebody, then that was attempted. I think that was they ruled the car in court a dangerous weapon, being in possession of a dangerous weapon, a vehicle. And it turned up to a higher type of charge, where it's like attempted murder or whatever degree of manslaughter, attempted whatever, I don't know, but whatever statutes that fell under. But if you got aggravated DWIs and you still go out there and rock and roll, they'll consider that car obviously can be a dangerous weapon. So that was mixed in there, because it boggled my mind how drinking and driving can make you end up in a state prison. But so don't go to school. Don't get caught up in all of that. I mean, this was an older guy, but I'm just saying, if anybody in general watches this, and they tell the prison stories, mob stories. Ooh. The personalities on YouTube, the inmates that got out that got YouTube channels, and the mobsters that got out that got YouTube channels. It should be a deterrent, not for any glamorization. I feel like a knucklehead that I got involved with some mobsters and everything else. What a knucklehead. I was educated. But life happens. There's no glamour in that. The real man and the strong man is getting educated. Find a job, support yourself, support your family, lead a good life. But, there's a lot of prison channels of ex-cons that got out, and they tell great stories. But I think that some of the youth think that it's just a stroll in the park in these prisons. No. I know people that did a lot of time. I seen the wife and I seen the wives and the girlfriends and the kids in the parking lot crying because the daddy's in the prison. They don't tell you that. Mike Francis don't tell you that. Sammy the Bull don't tell you that. But you see that fallout. 75-year-old mothers going in to visit their kid, going through security and getting frisked and everything else, like dehumanization. There's no glamorization in that. That is hell on earth. And to see a guy that wouldn't hurt a fly, if he had $10 in his pocket, he'd give you $9. And to see him to end up in a violent environment like Attica Prison is mind-boggling. But as citizens, we have to obey the laws and everything. Good morning, Victor. So, crime doesn't pay. Some people were successful criminals. Maybe 3 to 5% successful criminals. Yeah, Mario. The California prisons, all these gangs, you see, then you got to follow. But a lot of people, because I know a couple guys that did a big time in prisons, and I ask them about, were you forced? Well, it's just like, if you're not a soft target, they go in there, they try to intimidate you, and you got a shank or whatever. They're just thinking we just probably shouldn't mess with him because you could be in the yard and you just get ambushed and he could put that shank right through your heart. But they knew who they could prey on. They knew who they could prey on. Like when I went to the West Side and they tried to punk me, hey, Mr. Spataro. And I was getting punked on the West Side, and the kid thought he was just going to punk me on the court. And I just started beating him in the ground. And then they all ganged up on me. But then the one guy saved me, the maniac. Well, they just knew you got to fight him every day. You're going to have to whoop me. Whatever happens, happens. So then as time progressed, I was living there longer, and I was established on the West Side, and I got to know the people that were actually whooping my butt, and I actually became friends with a couple of them that kicked me in the face. But it's a weird dynamic. Everything's been good, Mr. Spataro. I've been doing my YouTube's working again, and I think my ticker's working. But I like to check in with you guys. This is my starting three: Victor, Mario, and Emmanuel. Everything's good here. Enjoying life and everything. But I see all these YouTube prison channels when these guys get out of prison, and they're talking about the booty bandits and how they're turning guys into bitches and extortion and everything else. And I knew some people in the system, and it's funny, but just don't. I mean, I don't have a lot of viewers, and there's not any youth. There's not any 20-year-olds coming on here. Maybe a couple, whatever. If it grows, they can go back and look, but that don't pay. That ain't a tough guy. Don't watch those prison channels and think that that's a glamorous life, because these new rah gang members come in there and they're running the streets and they're wilding out. And then you got 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old guys in prison that are doing life. And they're established in their ways. And then some of these new inmates come in and they think they're just going to intimidate some of these older dudes. Even if that older dude ain't affiliated with a gang affiliation, a gang. And they get surprised real quick. And so now it's just like, I like watching Banky Pound. I like watching the guy Off the Wall. He was an AB. And I personally knew a close friend that on the street when we were younger that grew up, and we knew his father. And then he did a lot of time out west, and he got into the Aryan Brotherhood and all that. And then he came home and everything. And you just have to adapt to that life. But the booty bandits, they got these young kids coming in, and then they get extorted. Or if they could fight and have enough power, and they could connect with somebody to have their back. But a lot of guys got extorted, and their families had to put money in their commissary or give money to their families on the streets. And I just thought I would touch upon that. And it's but like in the prisons in the South and along the Eastern Seaboard, where the populations, a majority of the populations of those prisons were black, or the whites were the minority in a lot of these prisons. So by osmosis or just by survival, you might have to band together with a couple of them. Just to have your little clique and have a little strength in numbers, because most of it was of the prisons are Afro-American or Spanish or Central American, or Mexican, and you know, a lot of the Caucasian white guys had to figure it out. And if you're a weak white guy going in there, the booty bandits will put a wig on you, put some lipstick on you, and then they're just gonna get over on you, unless you got some money to pay them off, or some strategy or leverage that they can get you. You know, I've heard of guys that they thought the white guy was weak, and they tried to extort and do all this and that, and they ganged up on him. But he was a crazy white guy, so he thought, I'm going to get his, I got connections on the street, I'm going to hurt the family. I'm going to hurt the family. Because you might have me outnumbered in the prison system to some extent, but I got some wild people on the streets that are just going to jack up your friend, your family, your wife, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. They're just going to, now you're going to put a target on your innocent family on the street. So if you want to rock and roll, let's rock and roll, they say. Yeah, they put you in the prison hospital and everything else. But then 2 weeks later, you found out that somebody close to you, the perpetrator, somebody close to the perpetrator got jacked up. So there's so many dynamics that go on. And then those people in prison might think twice when they're trying to go after white homeboy over here and think he's vulnerable, and they extort him and everything else, because the next time you make a move like that, they might increase the violence against your family on the street. So you better go find another target, an easy target, a soft target. So that's all I wanted to say here today. You see all these booty bandits, and I got another story about another guy that got caught up in Attica, and he fought from day one. I mean, he was a nut, kind of big guy, but he fought from day one, and he rock and roll from day one. He was like, nah, you know. So you more or less have to rock and roll from day one. Otherwise, you're going to be a punk, and that road leads to a lot of. So thanks, folks, for watching. Everything's good here. Good to see you, Victor. Good to see you, Mario. And good to see you, Mr. Spataro. I love that name. Why do I got such an average name? So that's that. I'm going to start telling some secondhand stories. I didn't go do any time. Secondhand stories from guys I knew, and then my godfather told me a couple things. But we'll get back. We'll rock and roll on some of that stuff. So Jimi Hendrix. I'm in the Jimi Hendrix gang. So thanks a lot, folks. I love you all, and having a real safe, enjoyable summer. And I'm truly blessed. My life, I'm blessed. I have a lot of fun. So crime doesn't pay. You can watch those prison stories, but don't get any ideas. Whoever watches this, don't get any ideas, because you could be the baddest mamma jamma on the street. You could be Hercules, and you still go in prison and get one in the heart. Boom, it's over. Don't matter how big and strong or badass or how powerful you think. Just like in the mafia, it don't matter. People are crazy. They don't care. When you let your guard down or you're not looking, somebody's going to sneak you. And we are gathered here at a funeral. So thanks a lot, everybody. I'll check in again, and share the video, like, subscribe, boom, boom, boom. Do 2 cartwheels. Go outside and have some fun. All right. And if you can help somebody and you're able to, help them out. That's the strong man. All right. Thanks a lot, folks. God bless you.